Black-owned businesses should not be treated as uncritiquable, unapproachable, as something that all Black people own, because really the only people who are invested in it is staff and maybe their investors. But we know we live in a world in which staff are not treated as people and are highly exploited regardless of who owns that business. So unless this Black-owned business has made a commitment to helping Black people, has made a commitment to paying their staff, has made a commitment to just any type of community-oriented thing where they can be held accountable by community, I'm not really sure why people treat Black-owned businesses as a community effort, something that we all have to support, and if we don't support them, we're bad people. And I shop at Black-owned business. I live in Atlanta. There's Black-owned businesses everywhere, but I do not treat that experience, and I don't treat those businesses as liberation, as a radical take. I don't treat those businesses as if they are above critique, and that's like a lot of things right now. So there's something happening with some fashion lady. She don't send out her stuff enough, and then they don't fit nobody. And people are saying, well, you can't critique her because she's a Black-owned business, and we shouldn't jump on Black-owned businesses. Why not? How does this, even if this business fails, how does this affect Black people as a community? Again, the primary beneficiaries of her business should be her staff, and then maybe if she has any type of shareholders, her investors, those are the beneficiaries of her business, not the entire Black community. And this is not how businesses were treated up until recently. Like I said earlier, I think that a lot of businesses did have community-oriented goals, but that's not what any of these businesses do today. And so how we got here was in 2014, Jay-Z and the Black Miss Leadership class and all of these celebrities, all the rich people, decided that they were the leaders of the Black community. And as they positioned themselves as the leader of the Black communities, they were able to slowly take hold of any type of Black radical movement in America. Meaning that we went from being in the streets, there was riots for Black people, there were demands. We had community organizers, not celebrities, but community organizers in meetings with politicians making demands. We had people who were from communities who may not even had like a college education, who were using their own self-determination and fighting for their own rights within these communities, within their cities, within their counties, within their states. Some people went international. You had people presenting at the UN making a claim for leaving Black people the fuck alone. But because these Black people were making gains, and because they were starting to see the fact that Black rage will bring this country down, they had to find somebody, some group that could temper that rage. And they found, like I said, Jay-Z and the Black Miss Leadership class. In Atlanta, they found Usher. For some reason, Usher was dragged into Atlanta political meetings after we had been doing these meetings ourselves. Whatever. So they bring these people in who are like, no, you want to be rich. No, you have to support the businesses. Because in Atlanta, where the riots would happen, like I said, there are a lot of Black businesses in Atlanta. So those businesses were getting smashed too. And they made that like, oh, you're harming a Black person. You're harming an individual person, not the community. This community. Also, one of those shops was like in Phipps Plaza. This isn't even a shop that most Black people can afford to shop in. And so you had this like whole shift and change, and they finally succeeded in 2020 because the entire Black Lives Matter movement was co-opted by rich, bougie Black people who have no aims, no goals, but to assimilate into the power of whiteness. Not anything that's radical, not anything that actually changes anything, but into the power of whiteness. We see this with the 1619 Project, whose entire goal is to integrate Black people into the project, not call the project out, not demand that this project end, but to have Black people see themselves as the colonizers, see themselves as the true Americans who have contributed all this imperial violence across the world. So if you consider yourself, and you're pushed to consider yourself to be a part of this project, to be a part of capitalism, which you are not, and most of these shop owners are not capitalists either because they have no capital. But if you push yourself to believe that you're a part of this, then it's very, very hard for you to fight back against it because you start to think that you're fighting against yourself. And we see this as well when people are, like a lot of African Americans see America be critiqued, and they're just like, but what about me? This country doesn't consider you to be a full citizen. This country doesn't consider you to barely be a human being. When people are critiquing the American empire, unless you are up there talking about, yes, woo, American flag, American empire, they're not talking about you. But they could be talking about you because we don't really do anything about what the empire does. But for the most part, it's just a general American word. And I personally don't consider myself to be tangible, to be connected to the American project, because as a Black woman, I have had no say in the imperial directions of this country. And again, There are individuals, there are Black people in politics, but they are not the voice of the Black communities in which they serve. And we have seen that increasingly more and more. Cory Booker does not represent nobody's Black voice. He just represents his donors. And that is like the main thing we need to continue to uplift. The donor class, the rich class, the capitalist class, the wannabe capitalist class are the people who are not on your side. There's no reason to pledge fealty to these businesses, to these people. There's no reason to do anything that says you can't critique these people because they are X, Y, and Z, because they have done nothing to give you a reason to defend them like that. Stop licking boots.